Welcome, everybody, to the podcast. I'm Ben Timmons, and today we have three guests. Let me just go around and say who you are.
Mike Gottron, Duro-last rep in Ohio.
Chris Gottron, also Duro-last rep in Ohio.
Jason Dark, Vice President of Sales out of the Duro-last headquarters in Michigan.
Well, great.
Thanks for having us.
Let's start off with the first question here, just to set the premise. How long have you guys been in the commercial roofing industry?
I'll start. I started in 1984, so worked at Duro-last for about a year, and then became a rep and moved to Ohio and been a rep ever since.
And I was born in '84. I've been in the business 17 years.
And 4.5 technically, 31 is kind of my bubble
By
year.
default.
Yeah, by default. Little by little got into it. I'm sure you have a similar idea.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. I mean, family business. So, like the podcast we said where you were in the basement doing organizing for Dad.
Yeah, of course.
Planting the seeds.
Doing paperwork.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love it.
So in general, when it comes to the commercial roofing industry, what are some things that right now are exciting to you guys, just in general in the commercial roofing industry?
Well, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, it's a great industry to be in, right? I think there's a lot of technology from a sustainability standpoint that's coming down the pike that's fun to look at and see, and I think it's good overall. But most important, I mean, the people in the industry are phenomenal. So that's what I find exciting about being in the industry is the people and being a part of some organizations that, look out for the greater good, even beyond roofing. I try to be active in the NRCA, the Roofing Alliance, which is the foundation for the NRCA. So that's kind of how I look at the roofing industry in terms of excitement.
I'm excited about just material availability, things kind of getting back to normal, trying to, build relationships with people and not be in such a trying to find material mode and those types of things. So hopefully things can get a little bit back to normal. But, I do think there's labor challenges, so trying to come up with solutions to help people get people that want to work and want to do good work. So those are a couple of things that I see.
Last couple of years have brought their own good and hardships, and I think a lot of innovation comes from that hardship area. Mm-hmm. And so whether it be labor or trying to make people more efficient on the roof during the actual install, I was having a conversation last night about different drone usages and trying to make sure that inspections go more quickly and identifying potential leak areas all from a drone before your guys even get up on the roof. Whether that be a safety savings, whether that be a time savings. I think technology won't be replacing the labor side quite yet, but it will be assisting to make that labor more efficient. And I think we're right there at the beginning of that, and it's going to be cool to see go forward.
So no Terminators putting the roof down yet?
Not yet.
Yeah, I think we're a little ways away from that one.
Saw the Boston Dynamics robot doing parkour the other day, so they're getting there. Yeah. They're getting there.
But I've seen some virtual reality for training on the roof.
Okay.
Which is interesting. I mean, obviously it's not the real thing, but it can speed up the learning curve for labor because we all know labor is the king issue in the industry, and it has been for years, and it's back at the forefront. It's labor.
Yeah.
So,
you want to talk about that artificial intelligence issue?
Yeah. When it comes to like the future of the roofing industry, there's a lot of possibilities. Obviously, we were just kind of joking about robots putting down plates and screws, but which would be crazy to see. I think I'd run personally. Yeah. But but like, what are some things you see in the future of the next 5-10 years in the roofing industry that are exciting innovations?
What he's referring to is ChatGBT, which everybody's really catching on, and
of course.
I don't think that it's solving any initial major business questions off the bat as people start tinkering with the tool, and that's all it is for right now. It's a tool. But if you can eliminate or minimize those mundane tasks that don't truly add value, they're necessary, but they don't truly add value. Mm-hmm. I think those that can figure out how to get those things off your plate and figure out where you're best to spend your time, I think it'll be very interesting to take what would be very hands and knees, elbow grease, effort, kind of throw manpower at it industry will turn into a much more sophisticated place, and owners will start to expect that. So those that don't adapt, it may be like the website originally. If you don't have a website for a long time, if you
Right.
had one, you were the guy, right? Now, if you don't have one, you're viewed as like, okay, you're behind the 8 ball. You might not be as reputable.
Right,
So
something's
I
not
think
right, yeah.
For now, it'll be one of those feather in the cap. 10 years from now, it'll probably be an expectation.
And speaking of the, like, what can AI do for you right now kind of thing, one thing I've been playing with AI to do is to get it to rewrite the description that my leak technicians write on the report when they're out there,
Sure.
and condense it into 2 bullet points. And it's very good at doing that.
It's excellent.
And you
It
can
is.
say do 3 bullet points, 2 bullet points, and it makes it really clear, and the clarity is there. So it's like, it's really, you could do that. Now, there's no real good way to integrate that with an API and automate it. You'd have to build that out. But there's definitely, it's right there on the horizon when it comes to roofing.
Sure.
I've used it a couple times. I mean, I do a lot of writing, right? Whether it be a letter or just addressing a full group of 100 people or whatever the reason is, so I said, well, hey, I'm going to take all these writings I do, I'm going to put it into one of the, I forget what is it, I think it's the app that you talked about there.
ChatGPT.
Yeah, ChatGPT, right, where you can buy like 50 credits at a time. So I just bought like 50 credits to use it. And it's great, but I find it still takes me the same amount of time to like make it my own voice, I guess.
Sure.
So it's a little different in that perspective, but
Yeah,
it's definitely coming.
If I may, reversing it kind of to you, from a laborer in the field side of things, what are you seeing that kind of excites you about being more efficient, touching more clientele, getting to more industries, expanding as a whole? What are you seeing?
Well, I see it as whoever controls the labor will get jobs no matter what. So I see the industry like consolidating. Like my Uncle Kurt, he really
Sure.
wrote about that in a book that I read, that not like a book that's on Amazon, but in his notebook from like a convention.
We
right?
should put it on Amazon.
Yeah,
If
we
it's from
should.
Kurt, we should put it on Amazon.
And it was all about how, companies are going to consolidate, it's going to go national, and that's great and all, but you can only control the controllables, as they say, as we heard today. So if you have labor, and what excites me is to really get our labor force built out in that regard. And one thing I think AI has really shown me is that I always thought that artists would always be safe. They would always have a job.
Right.
But it really debunked that. They're the first to go almost in this new, and the roofers, they're going to be the last to go.
Right.
You're not going to replace them. So these jobs are safe, and the pay between them and an accountant is going to really start to close the gap. So I'm excited about our guys starting to make, $35, $40 an hour roofing.
Sure.
$100,000 a year. We had a guy make $87,000 last year as a roofer. That's all he does. He's a foreman, but he's also like not the foreman all the time. And
Yeah.
that's a lot of money to pull out of rural Ohio.
Heck yeah.
You can buy
good
a
living.
beautiful house for $160,000 there. So it's not like we're in Hollywood. But
Yeah.
I see it as whoever has the labor kind of can control and be successful. Sales can come from anywhere. It could come from, like a Duro-last national account. It could come from, I just see sales as a commodity almost, and
Sure.
labor as the controller. So
That's what I'm excited about. And I think if you can build a culture where people want to work for you or work with you,
yeah,
and it's
Yeah.
kind of like I tell contractors all the time, you got to pay well because these people working for you have to have enough money to raise a family.
Yeah.
So if you can show them that you care, then you can charge more because there's more value because you have people that are experienced or doing good work. And I think that's one thing I've always respect about you guys is you look at it as a long-term situation. You have a lot of family involved, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
paying people to stay with you and be a part of your long-term vision and culture, I think that's going to make all the difference in the world as to
huge.
having labor and in being in control of your own destiny.
Yeah, and being able to somehow scale the compensation where it makes, their base is only 40% of what they're going to make, but then there's a way that they make a different amount of money based off their performance. And there's a lot of companies that do a really good job at scaling that compensation, but then it's like they're all owners in this. They can make
I like that.
and that's when you get the really good people that see the value in having a scalable compensation to come on board. And because you can get laborers, but to get the top tier guys, if you can have a lot of top tier people, you can get subs to help you do some of the other stuff like tearing off the roof and that. You don't need the foreman to tear off all the roof. You just need him to be there to make sure the project goes good.
One thing that actually, it's not a technical thing, it's not even going to be an innovation from a sheer numbers standpoint. The build out of massive warehouse and build out of a lot of major corporations because of same day or Amazon Prime effect, let's call it, that all started about a decade ago.
Yeah.
Give or take. And so if you think about it, it may not be the next 5 years, but the next 10 years, all of those buildings are going to be up for re-roof. Now, our bread and butter, admittedly, with Duro-last is not always new construction, but all of those re-roofs are going to be up for grabs, and it's not about who's bidding the lowest bidder, who's doing, who's closest with that GC. It's who is monitoring and staying close to that owner the best. I think we do an exceptionally good job of that part. So, from a pure macroeconomic standpoint, from a sales standpoint, we will have a lot of target-rich environments, to quote from earlier, simply because that started about a decade ago. Those 15, 20-year warranties are about to be up in the next decade. And that's going to be really, really interesting to see who can get to those owners and who can actually fulfill the need when they need it.
Yeah. What about specifically technology? Any exciting technology? I mean, obviously what I've seen over the last 5 years has been a lot of software for specifically made by roofing companies for roofing
making
companies.
your life easier.
Yeah, and that stuff has really made a difference for sure. I mean, even just in our little company, being able to keep everything in the same place and look it up fast and service the customer better has made a big difference. But anything you guys are excited about or see coming down the road as far as that goes?
I'm excited about the drone, the drone use. I mean, every day someone's finding out a way to utilize those better and make them more accurate. You got big companies that are leaders in that space that do measurements, and those are very reliable. 5 years ago, 8 years ago, I mean, those are okay at best. You know what I mean? So, that's exciting. I like solar. I don't know enough about it, but I know that there's always improvements being made from the solar side, and I think that's, coming. However, I don't think it's a good place on a roof, but my opinion doesn't matter in that case. They're going to still put it on that wide open space, right? Whether a terrible space or not, it's going to go up there. So that's something that us as professionals in the roofing industry, we at least got to be aware of it and in the know and have solutions for it, because I think sustainability is coming, and I think it's going to be coming a lot faster than we were used to over the last, for my career, 17 years, let's say it.
Yeah.
So
we use database software and job tracking software, and the critical thing there is just having everyone buy into it, so that having these tools, you have to commit to these tools, and then communication between your people in your office. I mean, if you use it and you work it, it's worthwhile. But there's a lot of good technology, but it's a matter of committing to it and sticking to it and using it properly.
There's a lot of them. So you got to find
what fits you.
Yeah, what fits you. And
honestly, both those answers pretty much sum up what I've been seeing as well. And kind of to speak back towards your incentivizing pay, unfortunately, a lot of times, especially in the sales industry, I find that we see the CRMs, the databases, as more of a nuisance than a help until you get deeply into it, and then it becomes more of a benefit. But it takes almost 12 months to truly start showing its value, and unless you tie incentive pay to utilizing it, it's pretty hard to change the best within the industry, because those are the 20, 30-year veterans that have never utilized it, and you go, okay, now utilize it, and they go, no, I'll just go make 5 more phone calls. It's like, all right, you got to unfortunately tie it in to something they deeply care about, the incentive side.
Yeah, that's one of them things where your results can still be good, but they could cover up maybe some of the actions you're not taking because
Sure.
maybe then 5 phone calls you do make a sale off. So then it's hard to get discipline, and because you are having success. But if you did the foundational stuff, you could really have some scalable success.
Right.
Ben, you asked about innovation, and I loved. Obviously, we're here at our conference, and Mitch Gilbert was up on stage, and I loved how he said, I forget the exact question, but it's pretty much, hey, Duro-last contractors, what gets in your way of selling or installing a Duro-last roof, right? Basically, what problems are you seeing? Because he's the type of guy, you tell him the problem, he is going to go and scientifically come up with an innovation for it, or at least attempt to. Whether it's a new glue, a new way to spray something, a new tool you need, and I think that's the critical thing is asking the questions, communicating with, the industry. I mean, we have vendors here, right now as well at this event, which we're thankful to have them, and they're showing off new tools, innovations to tools, right? They're small innovations, right? Yeah. It's not like they didn't just, create the internet or anything like that, but those things compound over time, and all of a sudden you got Durobond induction welding, and you got spray adhesives for walls, and I mean, just speeds up production again because labor's the challenge, right? I think like for us, DLX, it's an innovation, right? We took roll goods and we said make it as long as you want, right? To take out labor, right, and just reduce that. So I mean, those little things are what I look for, rather than looking for like the big, shiny object, if you will.
Well, I also think, if you hire people that really are committed into your company, they're going to help find solutions to speed up labor, be more efficient, find ways to get more done more quickly, and I think that's a big deal.
That was another one that Waldo, he said, listen, like, what did he say? He said, don't be afraid, you got to put your ego away, right? It's okay to have a bruised ego and listen to like the younger generation in your company. Yeah. And because they have smart things to say, put your 50 years of experience away and listen. I loved it.
Yeah, that was good. And you just listening to anyone at your organization, that's important.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, I just had deja vu like crazy. That was weird. It's like this happened before.
What's weird is so did I.
Really?
I swear to God. Man. And I'm shocked that you said that.
I was like, well, have we done this before?
And that concludes the podcast. No, just kidding. We're out of here.
Yeah, it was weird. So let's talk about sales a little bit. So when it comes to selling, roofing, there's national accounts and there's Main Street. And obviously, like for us, Main Street has been really big to grow. This is our 30th year in business, so that's been just really to redo roofs that my dad and uncle did. Just shows the power of Main Street. The same people own them too. It's not like it's a different person.
Right.
Yeah.
So those relationships do matter. What are some specifically like some lead generation things you guys are seeing right now that are working for contractors or to get leads, just to get your foot in the door and get an opportunity?
I think the biggest thing is just staying in touch with your current customers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so easy to be looking for the new guy or something new.
It really is old school.
And it's just staying in touch, and if you just do that, and then you ask them, hey, who else do you know? It just seems like in the real estate business, there's very few people that control most of the real estate. So if you do a good job for them, they usually can introduce you to other people. And I'm even finding with schools, a lot of times you don't ask them who else you know in the community or in the county. And I'm finding that, they know everyone in the county. Yeah. So it's just a matter of asking, and then.
When's a good time to ask, and how do you ask that question? Just like.
I have a quick idea, like when you're delivering the warranty and just kind of giving it to them.
You're stealing my presentation for tomorrow.
Is that right?
Yeah, I love it.
But I just think that's a good time to say, were you happy? Is there anything we could have done differently? And while we're here, are there any other people that you know that you think would, like our services? Because, there's nothing better than, talking to people when hopefully they're happy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the best way to do it. And I think it's, when it comes to selling, obviously, you can't forget that you have to make contact. You have to connect with them. It's still people to people,
Yeah.
At least in our business for sure. Like we're not selling software. We're not like online like chat botting it. You know, like you have to be able to connect. You know, so I mean that's huge. And then, but there's some database. Like you got to pick a market and find who you want to target. Right now, for an established company, I agree with Mike. Your existing customers is the absolute place to start in terms of finding new business and finding new people through referrals, with those people. But if you're like, let's say you're starting a new business, you got to find you got to find the people, you got to find the contacts. LinkedIn's great, right? It's all LinkedIn's not a new thing, right? But it is great for finding the right people, right? And then there's other things like CoStar. Like we invest in CoStar where you can, it's not every building, but like, it's easier to find out who owns that building across the street here. Mm-hmm. And then you can it gets you a little bit closer to the X, and helping find a new customer. So, I mean, there's a lot of things like that out there that can help you.
If you want to talk about what you talked about, we had a meeting 2 Fridays ago, and Chris just talked about doing a little bit of research before you have your meeting or discussion. Why don't you talk about that?
I'm a firm believer in the fact that it takes a little bit longer to do the pre-work and the post-work, but your hit rate goes up by double. So you don't have to meet nearly as many people, and frankly, it's a more enjoyable, more effective meeting anyways. And what I mean by that is anytime that I'm heading into a contractor or an owner, let's say I'm going into a GC, right? I go and I look at their website and I look at the projects they're always proud of, because as somebody that's redoing our website right now, messing with the website takes a ton of time, takes a ton of effort. You have to go through the iterations and find who cares about what, right? And so I look and see the project on their website that they're proud enough to post and let everybody know that they did it. And I come to them and I go, hey, wouldn't it have been easier if you tried this on that solution? And they go, actually, yeah. And that opens the door a lot faster than, hey, do you have any projects coming up? Because more often than not, if they're proud of that one, it's because it was high profile, profitable, something went well that they have a good taste still left in their mouth. Yeah. And so if you can tie it back to the projects they're highlighting, they'll tell you about that next project that's coming up, as opposed to calling them up and saying, hey, what else is going on? Do you have anything that we can work together on? They are not going to intuitively tie you in, because it's not their job to know your business. It's your job to know their business and how you can bring value. And so the other piece that I try to tell my team regularly is basically, put some time into your follow-ups. It's a nuisance, takes longer. Put links in, put in the data sheets, make it a one-stop shop, because when you go back and you visit that 6 months after, you don't know what you talked about. You don't really remember. And if it's all typed out right there, you're like, okay, I can pick up right where I left off, and it's going to be relevant to them, and it's going to be relevant to me. And so those two things, in sales, it's way sexier to have a vast number of phone calls, or I had so many touches with the outside world today. Okay, what's better? 10 phone calls and a 50% hit rate, or 100 phone calls and a 2% hit rate or a 5% hit rate? You achieve the same thing, but you don't have to work nearly as hard, or if you do, you get a higher conversion rate and it's better for everybody.
Yeah, it's like contextual prospecting. You have a little bit of knowledge of the situation before you go into it. But yeah, it is a lot sexier just to get on the phone and rip out 100 of them.
Yeah.
you're the gunslinger, not the accountant.
Yeah.
It's more fun to be the phone slinger.
Yeah. What are some industries you guys see growing over the next 5 years as far as roofing goes?
Sure.
Well, warehousing for sure. Data centers. We're seeing, property management groups, I feel like they're consolidating too.
Okay. Yeah.
Those are a couple areas. We do a lot of restaurants, hospitality. Obviously, we do a lot of small business.
Yeah.
But the government's got a lot of money to spend. Schools have a lot of money to spend.
See, I'm more traditional. I think, schools are always there. They're long-term, so, sticking with them. But I do like the fact that we're getting more into real estate management, warehouses, and larger projects. But
well, those are the companies that they're looking for someone they're looking for technique roofing that they can just rely on 100% of the time, never let them down. And when they find that, it's just a great, source of, it's just a great customer to have.
I think government takes a long time.
Yeah,
if you
lot of
know
red
the
tape.
game, though, and you know the rules, then you have an inside track. And if you're looking long term and willing to do the time, then that helps a lot.
The group that I've always been single-handedly shocked that we don't dominate, because it's roughly our size specialty. It's the quality owner that we want. Hospitals, healthcare. I mean, we should be dominating that space, because a lot of times they're looking for the Cadillac roof, and they're looking to the people that are self-proclaimed Cadillacs. Not a problem. Great roofing systems, very expensive, and they focus on the service side. There is nothing that those owners can't achieve by coming through Duro-last and partnering with our best roofers.
Absolutely.
And the footprint is roughly 25,000 to 100,000 square feet, because they're mostly vertical and not expansive. That is our bread and butter, as opposed to doing the massive projects. And then you tie in something like consequential damages where it makes sense, and that is a better conversation. I just don't know why we haven't spent more time on that focus. It has boggled me for a couple years, but that doesn't mean it can't be changed and redirected.
Yeah, that's a good industry to have in your back pocket too, because even in a recession, they're still spending money.
Totally.
Oh yeah.
That, like in 2008, we grew because we solely did a ton of nursing homes that year.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's another good market, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, people are getting older.
Yeah, all right. They're living longer.
Why'd you say it like that?
God bless. Chris said it.
I know.
So let's talk about, what are some of your guys' favorite hobbies right now? What are you into? Any new hobbies? Like for me, bubble hockey has been a new hobby.
I love it.
So anything new in the hobby life?
Pickleball.
Pickleball.
I love
I
pickleball.
haven't tried it yet,
Yeah.
but I need to. I'm gonna blow a knee playing
Yeah,
pickleball.
I've always been into golf. I'm still into golf, but pickleball is just, there's a certain camaraderie. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a seriousness, there's a competitiveness, but there's just more. I don't know. We play a lot of singles.
Now, is it singles or doubles?
There's
Is it
both.
Both, yeah.
Okay.
And singles is a harder workout,
Yeah.
but I don't know. It's just really cool, the people you meet, and you have really good games, and you win and lose, but you tend to complement each other when you get into a good little battle. So that's been fun for me.
Yeah, I'd say same thing. And pickleball is funny because when you're in and you're having a really good game, everybody's taking it super seriously, and then you take a step back and you're like, it's kind of a
What are we
dumb-looking
doing? What are
game
we
if you
doing?
take it so seriously.
What are we doing?
It's like
Doesn't matter how hard I hit this
couple
thing, it
guys
still
with
just kind of
rackets,
floats over there.
You're talking smack over a wiffle ball with a shorter net and a shorter court. You're talking about how I hit it just gently enough to get it over.
Yeah.
That's really.
I'm
part
proud of you guys
You're like,
for
man,
Yeah.
I'm the top athlete at pickleball right now.
Now,
No.
can you drink and play pickleball, or is that out of the question? Too
It's
much
frowned upon.
activity?
It's frowned upon, I'm told.
It's not like golfing and curling then.
No.
Yeah.
No.
That would be an anti-PED.
Yeah.
It would not help, but it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. That's funny.
What about you?
I play a lot of basketball. I try to stay active. My son just started playing basketball. I'm beyond excited about that. He's at a game right now, so that'll be a hobby of mine, being a basketball dad for the first time ever. Love golfing. Got a little indoor golf situation that gets me through the winter, so that's good.
That's cool.
That's good. Being in
And then
Michigan,
family,
you
and
got a
then,
long winter.
and then family stuff. That's really it. About it. Trying to get into reading more.
Yeah.
Do a lot of listening, but I want to do some reading,
I'm trying to read more.
Well, I
too.
mean, I just read a book. Yeah, I don't know, 500 pages, right? But it had been a decade since I actually ripped through 500-page book, So, but I was like, man, that felt good. It's different than listening, so I'm going to try to get into reading a little bit more.
How'd you get to that point where you're like, I should probably read more?
So my wife reads like I mean, she'll pick up a book, and it'll be done tomorrow evening. And I'm like, well, how'd you do that? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Right, because I mean, a 500-page book.
Right.
It took me a week.
Yeah.
Every night I'm like, I gotta sit down and dedicate time to it. But she reads all the time, so just one day I was like, okay, I'm going to grab a book. And she decorates all the time. It's all these shelves have books on it with no covers. So I just grabbed one. I grabbed one. It was called The Escape from David Baldacci. It was great. So I read it, and now I'm just going to grab another one. That was like 2 weeks ago, and I got to grab another one. I was busy with all this, but yeah. So it's not quite a hobby, but like it was one of those books you just can't put down. So every night you're just like, oh, God, I got to put it down. So I'll put it down and start it back up. So.
Yeah, hard to sit still and read sometimes.
Yeah, and you know me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Your personality.
I'm not a good sit still guy, but.
To me, it's the same thing as making the time and setting time aside to do it, because there's always so many other things to do, and it's hard to prioritize reading because I feel like you're just sitting there instead of getting stuff accomplished. But in the long run, you are getting stuff accomplished.
Right, and once you're into the books too, like you do. I mean, it's like anything else. It expands your vocabulary, and it's like my father-in-law. I mean, I bet you he reads 100 books a year.
Wow.
Right, super accomplished, the whole nine. But like. And they always say CEOs read 52 books a year or whatever like that. So maybe I'll be CEO one day.
Now, does that count audiobooks though? The 52? Because I
don't think so. I really think it's really sitting down and reading it.
That's the only thing about reading is I can't read time and a half like the audiobooks.
No, me either. I'm 1.75, man. All day. I fly through the books.
Because I read a paragraph and I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah.
I got to read that again.
Right, yeah. Because we lose track.
This may come as a surprise to you guys, but I think I'm 15 books in for the year already. I mean, I've been reading to my nieces and nephews.
Really?
It goes by so quick. The words
Johnny went to the park.
The pictures
he had a ball.
I do read to my 3-year-olds.
Yeah,
Good night, Hollywood.
Yeah, I like that.
Green eggs and ham.
Profession, sales. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast, guys.
It was fun.
I know we got to get ready, get the awards going, and appreciate you stopping in. So thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, man.